Okay, we're ready to get started. Thank you for joining. This is the first of a quarterly online event on the topic of the MSP sales funnel, and I'm excited to get this effort underway. I will cover my prepared remarks for about 25 to 30 minutes, I think, and then at the end there'll be time for questions. So if you do have a question at any time, please type it into the Q&A box. I've noticed a trend toward pre-recording webinars and then billing them as live when in fact they're not. But assuming today is September 26, 2018, this webinar is live. So I will see your questions and I'll do my best to answer them. A recording of this webinar will be available on Digit's website by the end of next week. A quick intro for those who don't know me. I began my career in the early 90s as a technical writer for a fast-growing maker of software for automotive dealerships. And about a year later, I landed a new job where I had to learn as much about software as I possibly could, which led me to turn my career toward software development. Seems like over the years, I kept finding myself at the intersection of technology and marketing. And when the clock struck 2000, you would have found me building websites. Not necessarily public websites, but I built a few of those back then too. But in 2001, for example, I put together a team to create a marketing portal at a Fortune 500 energy services provider. And then after that, a pricing engine and portal used by offshore oil well operators. So I fell in love with the web and I launched Digit to bring the power of content management and professional web design to a market that really hadn't seen systems yet like WordPress, which I think didn't even exist until 2003. So for any Digit clients on the webinar, you may remember that the earliest content management system we use, which thankfully has been superseded several times now with more capable and easy to use systems. So as Digit designed, built, and managed dozens of websites in the years that ensued, we became more aware and more focused on the role of the website in attracting and engaging prospective customers. And today we take our knowledge of digital marketing excuse me, and focus it on creating sustainable sources of sales leads for managed services providers. So it's helpful to get on the same page concerning the definition of a sales funnel, since my definition could be different than yours. The funnel is a metaphor that helps us visualize and talk about how prospects become customers, from first becoming aware of a problem all the way through hiring a firm or buying a product to help solve that problem. And the aggregate of all these buyer journeys takes on the shape of a funnel. It's big at the top and small at the bottom, presumably because while you may have a number of people who are aware of a problem, not all of those will progress to the next stage of the funnel where they may spend time considering possible solutions. And then fewer still will decide to make a purchase, represented by the third area of the funnel. And here they commit to a solution, though they may not know exactly which solution. Some marketers feel like this rendition of the funnel is incomplete, but it doesn't encompass marketing initiatives because it doesn't encompass any marketing initiatives directed toward existing customers. So they'll draw a shape that looks more like two funnels, one of which is upside down, and which is supposed to represent the role of marketing as it relates to cultivating customer loyalty. Now, all that's fine, but again, so that we're on the same page, the funnel we'll discuss today is simpler. Like most funnels, it has a wide top and a narrow bottom. The top of the funnel, and this may sound familiar to you, represents the largest possible audience of potential qualified buyers of your services and who show absolutely no intent of buying anything. The bottom of the funnel, where my definition differs from some, is where a prospect has done the research, is committed to a solution, and then somehow signals their readiness to talk to a sales rep with you and or your competitor. So the bottom of the funnel is where we find prospects with the most intent and who haven't yet spoken to your sales team. This is where a handoff occurs, where sales takes over from marketing and attempts to convert a lead into an opportunity. At this point, the prospect is now, according to my definition, out of the funnel and into what I refer to as the sales pipeline. So I'm not discussing the sales pipeline today, only the funnel that feeds that sales pipeline. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that marketing is only about bringing in new sales leads. But as an MSP, if you have not already solved the problem of producing an adequate volume of new, high-quality sales leads through your own marketing program, then building this funnel is by any measure where your greatest return is going to come from. I would even go so far as to say that a high-performing sales funnel is your company's most valuable asset, period. So, why is it that important? Well, first, sales leads are fundamental to the value exchange. If you don't have sales leads, you don't have clients. No clients means no sales, and no sales means no revenue. Second, it takes years of focus and discipline and sustained effort to build a quality funnel. It just doesn't happen overnight, even in the best of circumstances. And without both a solid strategy and effective execution, it's almost guaranteed to fail. The funnel's value comes in part then just from the fact that it requires so much investment. And third, funnel mastery is a critical strategic competency. While you may successfully outsource tactical elements of your marketing plan, in fact, maybe probably should, you should not be dependent on IT vendors or marketing partners for your sales leads. And then finally, are you thinking about an exit strategy that involves the sale of your firm? Imagine the difference in its valuation with and without a strong sales funnel. As a matter of fact, Steve Lewis of Service Leadership spoke last week at GlueCon out in Scottsdale, and he gave a presentation called Pivotal Learnings from Growing a $100 Million MSP. And guess what most of the presentation was about? I think I counted over a dozen slides talking about the importance of marketing and specifically driving organic growth. So without an effective funnel, you'll likely feel forced to do business with customers who are not the best fit. You'll sell managed services at a lower price than you would with a quality funnel. And you're going to depend on leads or even market development funds from vendors who expect you to sell their solution. Now, I happen to be a big fan of using MDFs, but way too often we see them applied to initiatives that don't help build a strong funnel. And I'll repeat what I said earlier too. If you have not already solved this problem of producing an adequate volume of new high quality sales leads through your own marketing program, then building this funnel is by any measure where your greatest return will come from. So, the tendency, I think, is to measure the effectiveness of a sales funnel exclusively in terms of the volume of sales leads that we get into our pipeline. But there's so much more behind it, and our goal isn't just to produce an abundance of good leads. Yeah, most of us want more clients, but in addition to increasing revenue, we're also looking to improve in other ways. For one, we want more choice in who we take on as clients. I mean, we want to sell work where we can provide the highest value, because when our services are priced correctly, the higher value translates to higher revenue. And then I think, too, we want to be able to choose to sell work where we'll deepen our expertise in whatever our chosen domain is. So that kind of leads to this next one, which is we want to sell at higher margins. So price is your number one point of leverage impacting profitability. And a good funnel drives leads that will pay higher prices. We want to lower the cost of sale. And we do that through a reduced dependence on advertising, through closing a higher percentage of opportunities, and spending less time on making the sale. So it's the job of a high-performing funnel to deliver on these goals. To tell you about the funnel system, I need to review a concept that some of you may already be familiar with called the value stream. So you would have heard of this if you've ever read a book by Michael Porter called Competitive Advantage, although Porter calls it a value chain, or if you've ever read the DevOps Handbook. The concepts that Porter outlines in Competitive Advantage, which I think he wrote back in '98, as well as those discussed in the DevOps Handbook, go at least as far back as 1984, when a guy by the name of Eli Goldratt published a groundbreaking business book, which has become a classic. It's called The Goal. But a value stream is all the activities that we perform in order to create and deliver value. And that value typically manifests as a product or service, and then we deliver that value to our customer. So it includes production and development of the services that we're going to sell, marketing and selling itself, and delivery of the service after the sale. So this diagram is no doubt an oversimplification. To fully document your firm's value stream would involve taking each one of these areas and then breaking them into hundreds or more likely thousands of discrete tasks involved along the way. So just imagine that complexity. And then some of you may not have to really imagine it because you're probably swimming in that complexity every day. And that complexity has a nasty way of turning into chaos on some level. And that chaos, by the way, can create any number of obstacles to building a strong sales funnel. A few years ago, I started thinking about this problem of chaos that we all seem to wrestle with in our businesses. And as someone who shifted from IT into a career in marketing, I came to the conclusion years into that transition that marketing was just too damn complicated. Not only did I seem to have increasing difficulty with client conversations where I was trying to articulate how Digit would provide value, I even felt like my own team wasn't on the same page and that our outcomes were not meeting their potential. Then I read a book called The Phoenix Project. And for those who haven't read it, it uses storytelling to illustrate principles behind making radical improvements within this value stream and increasing the amount of value delivered. And one cool thing about the Phoenix Project is that it does all of this within the context of a story about a corporate IT organization. So this book was a game changer for me because I can directly relate to the challenges in the story. Maybe I'm not always dealing with poorly written code or delayed software features, but it became clear as I read the book that the problems my team experiences result from the same kinds of decisions and mistakes made by the characters in the Phoenix Project. Until then, I had not viewed our activities, those that we as a firm conduct to bring value to our clients, through the lens of a value stream. I was familiar with neither recognizing the underlying issues or how to go about solving them. And what I found even more exciting is that it's not just a matter of improving the outcomes that Digit is responsible for creating for our clients. I am convinced that I've uncovered an answer to the question of why so many MSPs, and then honestly, lots of other types of companies, do such a bad job when it comes to marketing. Through understanding as a digital marketing agency what it means to work alongside an MSP to help them build a strong sales funnel, combined with my new understanding of Digit's work as a value stream, it occurred to me that the value stream I was delivering is the same value stream whether my team is executing or someone else's. So who executes the activities or where the participants draw their paycheck doesn't really matter as long as the activities are being performed and they're in sync with the company's business goals. So I had discovered what I'm calling the marketing value stream, which is a distinct set of activities performed in order to create and deliver value. So the biggest difference I saw between the marketing value stream and the value stream introduced here is that our customer, or the recipient of the value of the marketing value stream, is typically a prospect, not necessarily a paying customer. But as I thought about that longer, I thought, wait, prospects do pay. They don't pay like a customer who pays using a monetary currency, but they do pay in the currency of attention. And in either case, if you don't deliver value, you don't get paid. Maybe it's not so simple. So maybe companies do bad marketing for lots of reasons. But now I do understand that my question should not have been, why don't more firms do a better job of marketing? But really, how does any firm do a good job of marketing without recognizing this value stream on some level? So now, one more concept, this one related to the value stream, and this one popularized by the DevOps handbook and referred to as the 3 ways. So I like to think of the 3 ways as the principles underlying the desired state of the value chain. So there's a ton of material to explore around this, but a simple explanation still has a lot of meaning. So the first of the 3 ways we'll call flow. So flow suggests that we as managers should be focused on the entire value chain, from, say, a customer order all the way through delivery of the product or service fulfilling that order. Our goal, according to this principle of flow, is to increase the velocity of the value chain from left to right by identifying and removing constraints and reducing the amount of work in progress. In other words, take smaller bites so that we can chew more quickly. The faster we can get some portion of value in front of the customer, the faster we can start getting feedback. Feedback is the essence of the second way. While flow, the first principle, deals with moving value from left to right, feedback is all about introducing feedback loops at every step of the value chain. So flow helps us shorten the delivery cycle, and then feedback helps us fix problems more quickly. The third way emphasizes the importance of continuous learning. It encourages ongoing experimentation and testing to find success and failure so that we can learn from both. The third way promotes the understanding that repetition and practice are prerequisites to mastery. So voila, we talked about the value stream, and we got a quick intro to the 3 ways, which are the principles behind incremental improvements to the value stream. But what exactly does a marketing value stream look like? If a value stream is a set of activities, what activities are we referring to when we apply them to marketing? I've been doing this for 17 years now, and I've made refinements to Digit's approach to marketing at least 17 times. But when I began to understand the marketing value stream, it started making more sense to me that we needed to organize our people and our processes around 4 main activities. First, strategy. As dumb as it sounds, most firms just don't do this. But it's beyond dumb, because without some semblance of strategy, the chances of getting a positive return on efforts is 0. At a minimum, strategy provides direction for the other 3 activities. It sets a course. But the more fundamental aspect to strategy is what we at Digit refer to as positioning. Your position in your market is expressed by what you do and who you do it for. It may also describe why you do it or how you do it, and all the better if there's something unique about that. The purpose of this webinar is not to teach you about positioning. I've got 2 or 3 recent blog posts if you're interested related to that topic. But what I'd like to emphasize here is that the stronger your firm's position, the more leverage you have to apply on the 3 remaining activities in the marketing value stream. So strategy is a thinking activity. It involves multiple brains representing diverse areas of knowledge and consideration. So think of knowledge of the MSP industry as a whole and your more immediate sphere of competition, your vendors, your services, your value proposition, the pain points of your target audience, the role of digital content in its many forms, relevant channels of syndication and promotion, web analytics. I mean, it just goes on and on. Strategy is not exactly a one-time activity, but in comparison to the other activities, it involves not a lot in the way of repetition. But still, its impact is felt throughout the value stream. And it's best to answer the question of strategy, the questions, I should say, of strategy at the outset, and then move on to the other activities. Authoring, or the process of producing original content, is often seen as the number one problem plaguing an effective marketing program. I remember a client I worked with probably a dozen years ago. My team had built a new website, and we had to wait like 3 years for the client to write new content for the website so that we could finally launch it. Now, that's a record for us for sure, but we still encounter the same dynamics and the misguided thinking almost every day that would, if not addressed and resolved, make content authoring a major bottleneck. But if you have a solid content strategy in place, there are multiple ways to solve this problem. So you're going to want multiple forms of content, copy, audio, video, served up in all sorts of contexts. And while most or all of it may arise from your thinking, you simply won't have the time or even the skills, for that matter, to produce everything. The goal is to implement a reliable, consistent subsystem that produces the content called for by your strategy. Authoring is not about coming up with ideas for content. That's part of strategy, which is a separate and distinct activity. Promotion is the act of getting the right content in front of the right prospects at the right time. So after content gets created, it gets deployed in one or more formats on one or more different platforms, or promoted through different channels. But without promotion, content has little value to your prospects because it's just not seen. Promotion could be as simple as posting an article on your website, because through the magic of Google, there is a great chance that somehow, somewhere, someone is eventually going to stumble upon it. So search engine optimization is one promotion tactic. And as important as it may be, if search engine optimization is your only promotion tactic, then you're leaving a lot of money on the table. Optimization involves measuring the performance of your promotion tactics and using tests and experiments to get quantitative feedback. You'll be tracking behaviors specific to each stage of the funnel. You have the opportunity here to gather some beautiful data with which you can draw some insights and make decisions about what's working and what's not. I mentioned just a minute ago that the stronger your position, which is a significant component of your strategy, the more leverage you have to apply to the other activities. So take content authoring, for example. Your content will be higher quality and be perceived as more compelling. With strong positioning, you'll have far more success getting your content in front of the right eyeballs, which speaks to content promotion. And then as far as campaign optimization goes, you're going to gain more insights more quickly on what needs to happen to improve results, however you measure success, if you're positioned well in the market. So now for the big reveal. The title of the webinar suggests a system for building a high-performance sales funnel. So without further ado, the funnel system for MSPs is a framework for leveraging the power of the value stream and the three ways, and applying that power to the marketing value stream, encompassing the 4 high-level activities involved in building and sustaining a strong sales funnel at every stage of buyer intent. And that last phrase is an important one: every stage of buyer intent. And that takes us right back to the funnel. So, as it turns out, to reach and engage prospective buyers at different stages within the funnel, we have to provide content tailored to where they are in their journey. Not only that, Buyers at one stage of the funnel don't necessarily look for things in the same places as buyers in another stage. So now, not only are we talking about tailored content for prospects depending on where they are in the funnel, we also need to think about promoting content differently at different stages in the funnel. And we need to figure out exactly what we should be measuring at each stage and how to measure it. This funnel system matrix is one way of visualizing the system. And what I like about it is that it's actually quite useful for planning and prioritizing your marketing efforts. One of the things I love about the matrix is that it illustrates how your strategy must address different stages of intent separately. But wait, I'm about to blow your mind. The matrix is also specific to a given buyer persona. So no matter who you sell to, you're probably dealing with multiple individuals influencing the final purchase decision. And the individuals involved may have their own unique set of priorities. So CEOs have different priorities than CFOs. And CFOs want different things than CIOs, which are different than what an IT director wants or an office manager. What's more, prospects in one industry may have different criteria than prospects in another. Job position and industry may be two of the most common ways to segment your prospects, but differences can arise out of geography or age or other attributes. So your strategy doesn't have to address every possible type of prospect, but you do need to be aware that differences exist. And your strategy should reflect a conscious prioritization based on your specific business goals. So some final thoughts to leave you with. Where is it easier to find your future clients? Well, it's easier to get in front of prospective IT buyers higher in the funnel than lower in the funnel. That's because, well, maybe a couple reasons. One, there are more prospects who are not ready to buy than there are prospects who are ready to buy. Two, there's less competition for those eyeballs. Most marketing efforts undertaken by MSPs are targeted way down here at the lower end of the funnel. So your chances of influencing a prospect are much higher if you can reach her early in her journey. So how do you create a high-performing sales funnel? Simple. You follow a proven system. So I didn't really talk about websites or marketing automation or advertising. And yes, those things are important, but they are tools and tactics. And when it comes to building a sales funnel, those tools and tactics generally have something to do with authoring, promotion, or optimization. They, like so many other topics that we hear so much about, exist to support one of those things. They're not the core focus. All right, a couple of announcements. Let's see. Office move in San Antonio this coming Friday. Digit is moving. So check the website for a new address here very soon. Next week we'll be working in our new digs. Some upcoming events, Spice World in Austin, October 8th through the 10th. I will be there and would love to meet you if you are able. And then I'll also be at IT Nation in Orlando, Florida, November 7th through 9th. So if you run across me, please say hi. Okay, I want to open it up to some questions. Let me pull up my Q&A box here. Okay, I have a question. Tim says, we do blogging monthly, and we have been able to get a few white papers posted onto our website over the past year, but we haven't seen any bump in leads from our website. How can we know when we invest the time in writing content that it's actually going to pay off? Okay, good question. I think I might ask some other questions of myself if I were in your shoes. I would first ask, well, how do we know it's the right content? It has been a number of years, but I one time wrote an article. I think it's called like the 5 characteristics of compelling content that is still on our blog. So if you Google that, five characteristics of compelling content, and maybe put in our name digit along with that search, I think you'll run across that. But so I would be asking first, how do I know it's the right content? And then I would ask. By the way, that first question comes straight from that activity of content strategy. So then I would ask, how do we know that content is being seen by the right people, which speaks to the promotion strategy. And then if we do find that we've got the right content, and if we do find that that content is being seen by the right people, and if you're not experiencing any effects in terms of lead gen from that, then I think I would ask, are the appropriate calls to action in place to influence a website visitor to trade their contact information in exchange for that content? I do like your question, though, because you can, through different forms of research, get some idea of what content is likely to work before you spend time creating it. A couple of ideas come to mind there. You may want to talk to your customers, and you probably already know so many of the problems that your customers are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And experience shows us that if we produce content that responds to those needs, then there's a good chance that they're going to find that content engaging, compelling. We use tools like SpyFu, for example, that's SPYFU, to do research on topics and look for different search phrases using that tool that are popular, because that gives us a sense of what people are looking for. So you might look at a tool like SpyFu. So I hope that answers your question. And that's it. That's all I have. So I appreciate everyone attending today, and I will be sure and get this webinar up on the website next week, and look forward to speaking with you at one of the 2 events coming up, either Austin or Orlando, and hope you have a good day.